in Sweden. How complex and interconnected that is, and how it crosses right across our national borders, I will come to. But before speaking on the how of the work of government, I would like to touch briefly on the why. And to keep that in focus, I would like you to picture the images of 3 children you all know from our newspapers and screens. The first is the face of a starving child. The pinched features, the swollen belly, the big eyes with that look at the camera and at us. The second is the face of a child struggling with obesity, heavy, defensive, almost apologetic. The third child has a face we cannot really see, because it is face down in the sand of a Turkish beach, of Alan Kurdi, a drowned 3-year-old Syrian refugee. We all know, all of us, that this is not how a child, how a human life should be. Because all of us were once a child ourselves. And we know how utterly dependent we were then on those around us, and that we all cared about. But how we handle our feelings next rather depends on your politics and on your worldview, which in this, the 21st century, are one and the same thing. You can blame governments, you can despair of governments, or you can demand that governments do something. What is common to all 3 reactions, however, is a belief in what Thomas Jefferson called the first and only object of good government, the care of human life and happiness, which is a tall order, and obviously covers a lot of areas. And so ministries, departments, divisions and agencies of government reflect the diversity, complexity and globalized nature of our lives in the 21st century. But to understand much of how we try to work here in Sweden, across government, we need to think a little of how human life is and has been here way up north. June, as you see, is a lovely time when it's not raining. But try living the long winter months. Those sparkling Stockholm waters can freeze a meter thick. It is dark right across this long, long land and its small and scattered population. And before we built our bright digital towns and cities, and before our welfare system, life was harsh and hard. When your nearest neighbor lived kilometers away in an unforgiving climate and landscape, this forged an understanding in us. You can call it a tradition. That to get what you need, you have to work hard yourself. And you have to work hard and well with others. This underpins in modern times what many call the Swedish model. What we call pragmatic common sense. Which helped in 3 generations with technology and a system that valued and cared for all of our citizens to transform an isolated poor people on the margin of things into one of the richest nations on earth. Working across government to implement this solution meant involvement, dialogue and close engagement with all those involved in what we needed to do. all those who could contribute knowledge, the private sector, the workers, academia, and civil society, just as EAT is doing today. And just as the Global Nutrition Report is also doing today in Delhi and Washington. But to involve people and unite people, to engage and work with each other across policies, silos, or sectors over time needs a simple but common goal. Folkhemmet, welfare for all people, drove Sweden's development in the 20th century, and for my government, it still does today. Or, to take a more contemporary issue, and in response to the carnage the motor car brought to our roads and to people's lives, our Vision Zero. A policy of zero tolerance of any death or injury on our roads, to the human cost in and to people's lives. There was skepticism at first, but also an understanding, as the evidence showed that to get there you had to involve all those involved. Drivers, passengers, cyclists and pedestrians, town planners, road designers and car makers and lawmakers, informed lawmakers. And after 20 years, the idealistic, the impossible, is clearly working. A policy that reversed a mindset of what most consider the inevitable price other people have to pay for progress. This price, this view, of course, are still facts worldwide. But now Vision Zero, and above all how it works by involving everyone, is being rolled out in capitals and countries worldwide too. Of course it must be adapted, and the what and how understood. You know, things can get lost in translation. The Swedish is nollvision, and first calling it in English zero vision didn't exactly help. But most importantly, almost above all, it shows what can be done. And that where there is a will in the modern world, there isn't one way, but many ways to get there. This we all need to remind ourselves of, and to remind all those we meet. Like when we forget how all governments, through the WHO, helped eradicate smallpox worldwide, even at the height of the Cold War. The global challenges we now face, personified by those 3 children I ask you to picture: famine and malnutrition, obesity, and of wanting a better life. They will not be won by any one government, any more than antibiotic resistance that threatens to take us and our children back to a medical dark age, or the greatest challenge to all human life, climate change, will not be solved by any one government, not even a Swedish one, for all the hard work we have done and are doing in these fields. There is still everything to work for and everyone to work with, but it can be done. So the best way for all of you here to understand how we work across government, and the only way this government or any government will be able to implement the solutions we and our children need, is for you to work with this government and our co-partners, and with and on all governments. Advise, publicize, shame if you need to, but still better, share, inform and inspire. And remind everyone you meet that for all its diversity and complexity, the facts and science show our planet, our world, our lives are completely interdependent. They always were. And that we, and above all, our children, are all in this together. As for the solutions, Goethe was right about governing. But we already have enough demagogues around the world today, with their simplistic prescriptions and hatred and rejection of complexity, diversity, and change. This has never in human history worked. Brian Eno once said, instead, democracy is a daring concept, a hope that will be best governed if all of us participate in the act of governing. It is not just hope, ladies and gentlemen, it's what works. Thank you very much.